actually expecting to see. I thought we'd see the Kai'Sa coming out here, but to me, this just says, right, we're not going to be playing around this bottom side of the map. We're going to be looking to try and play towards New and play towards Creme, which is a very different style to what we've already kind of, well, one, seen from OMG and two, expected from OMG. But we'll have to kind of keep our eyes out to see how that one's going to progress. As we look across at ORA, iBoy, however, in the Samira, I think he'll probably go back towards something like the Tristana here. Relatively safe laner that can just scale up with this Senna. And then you have Leyan as well going back towards his tried and tested, that Nidalee, which gives FoFo the opportunity to go towards these AD mid laners.
Oh, but we get the Ezreal. Now, iBoy is an old school player. Ezreal, old school, LPL. These are three things that go together very, very nicely. This is his second most played AD carry. He's more than comfortable on the Ezreal. I'm excited to see what iBoy's going to be able to bring out. The Tahm Kench comes through. Tahm Kench Senna bot lane. Not much to talk about there. We've all seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I'm curious now if OMG are going to ban away again the Zoe here. I think especially when you look at ORA, the range in that composition is pretty obnoxious. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them, as you can already look, get rid of things that can poke relatively well, right? So the Karma off the board, I imagine Zoe's to follow. And then you can actually have some sort of attempt at trying to fight these big team fights. Whereas when we look across at ORA, still a lot that's open here. You've got the flexibility from the Lee Sin, so you can go towards these mid lane picks again if you want to and try and make Creme that little bit uncomfortable. Or you can just call it Aki and say, hey, look, chances are this Lee Sin isn't going towards the jungle. Let's ban some of these jungle champions.
Yeah, the LeBlanc taken away from Creme here, as you mentioned. It's something that we've seen yesterday. Obviously, we don't know the meta perfectly just yet. We need to wait and see more teams play to see what are going to be the most popular mid laners, but that's a few bans now for LeBlanc and a couple of picks. So Lucian taken off the board here by OMG away from, you'd assume, FoFo in this one. And now RA have to decide what they want to remove. Wouldn't be surprised to see another ban away from Creme. Maybe take something like the Orianna off the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that's probably your best bet to go towards. There it is. And it feels like now, at least for ORA, we can either go back towards the Zoe again that we already talked about if you want to. Or you can try and just opt in towards more of this stronger AD carry, or sorry, stronger mid laner, or an AD build because you've got that Nidalee in the jungle. I'm just curious though what they decide to go towards, because we did see nerfs towards Senna's range, so although she does get a decent amount of range coming into her kit, not going to be able to answer for the super long range composition if that's what ORA decide to go towards.
Udyr taken here. Leyan, he liked it in game number 1. He's hovering it in game number 2. He's already got the Nidalee though, but it could go to FoFo. Gwen as well. It's Viego locked in. That could well be Viego mid lane for FoFo here. I said that I wanted to see something more aggressive. That definitely ticks that box.
And this is wonderful because already you can see are hovering these more like range or roam oriented supports. I'd love to see them. Like when you've got Ezreal in the bot lane, you're free to go as you please as Hung. So if you've now got this Viego in the mid, you can look to play heavily towards this mid lane alongside Leyan. You even have the stun coming through from the Viego to set up Leyan in that lane. Like this feels like a pretty, let's just go in on Creme as quickly as we can and see if we can get FoFo rolling here. Now, Creme, you were looking towards those assassins, Munch, and Akali is actually one of Creme's most played assassins, so could definitely see that here, and I think it's a great answer. When you're already looking at someone who wants to try and very much auto-attack focused in Viego, the Shroud is going to do a lot of work, plus being able to at least keep yourself somewhat hidden from any of those stuns or anything else that tries to come through, and a lot of mobility to dodge away from Hung. Like, this means Creme can play relatively safe and try and get towards the point where he's relevant in fights.
I'm excited to see it. We've got some comfort picks across the board here because, as we mentioned, iBoy on the Ezreal. Leyan, Nidalee is pretty much the pick that you think of with Leyan. And now Creme, as you say, Akali, very much one of his most played. This guy loves the assassins. He loves the melee champions. Akali, very much within his wheelhouse. And I'm excited to see that. I said it in game number 1. I don't want to see him on Victor. I want to see him flex his muscles on this stage. This is his first series in the LPL. Let's see what he can do when he has the freedom to strut his stuff. But I'm also curious about that top lane matchup because this Sett being blind picked again for Cube here. Lee Sin going into it. I don't know the matchup well, Dagda, but I'd imagine Lee Sin has a lot of mobility. Sett has to land one big ability. Feels like Lee Sin's probably pretty good at dodging that.
Yeah, you can do relatively well at dodging it, but it's more so like it's kind of a war of attrition to a certain extent, because Lee Sin can do a lot of stuff with like controlling the wave, right? Where he's got that E to start pushing it. You've also be able to sustain yourself pretty well off the W. So it's not like Sett's able to play kind of his usual style, which is I take these heavy trades, I blast you back in the face with my haymaker, and then I'm able to heal it up through the passive, because Lee Sin can do a relatively good job of actually trading that. So I feel like it'll end up kind of stalemated to a certain extent until we get jungle intervention up towards that top side of the map. That's when we'll see it actually start to turn around and have a bigger swing or a bigger factor in that top lane.
Well, we're getting ready for game number 2. You can see the compositions here. We're back to League of Conqueror, mate. We've got 6 Conquerors across the game here. Halo Blades on Cold as well. We've got 2 opposite ways of playing the lane, right? Senna, Tahm, Kench can be very oppressive, especially with the Halo Blades. And then you've got Ezreal and Bard, who basically just want to handshake the lane. They just want to get out of there. Let Bard roam, let Ezreal do his thing solo. So 2 very opposite ways to approach that bottom lane.
I'm kind of surprised to see the Halo Blades on Cold, because usually when we see the Halo Blades, it's into like a melee support that you can actually, you know, trade pretty aggressively and look to use the Halo Blades. But against like a Bard, it can be kind of hard, especially with the slows, and also then iBoy just being able to piece out with his arcane shift. So we'll have to see if Cold's actually going to get much use out of it. I feel like generally the Guardian would give you a lot more here in this lane.
Well, he's going to go for the Halo Blades regardless. Definitely feeling more aggressive. Maybe he'll find an opportunity. Certainly with the slow, the Abel can get down off of his Q. And the Glacial Augment, maybe there'll be some opportunities there. But let's talk early game then, Dagda. Let's try and set the pace of what we expect here, because both junglers starting on the bottom side, getting leashes from their teams, and pathing up towards that top lane.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of action up towards this top side of the map. You can see Cube and New trading fairly well against each other, but certainly with Senna on the bottom side, Aki will be looking to play towards this top lane, and certainly towards this mid lane as well, to try and keep Creme safe. Because for RA, like we've already talked about it, FoFo is the one that they are going to be looking to play around. They're going to be looking to try and get this Viego up and rolling, and if that does happen, he can be a pretty scary boy. So I'm curious to see now how these junglers are going to meet up and where that action is going to kick off from the get-go.
I'll have to say New just about getting that CS and dashing out. It looks like he's pretty nervous about going toe-to-toe with Cube. Certainly in the early game is able looking to get some souls down in the bottom side of the map. And remember, will be the TK farming that one up. You can see we've got a few of the matches that are coming up this week flashing up on the bottom of your screen. JDG versus Top Esports. I saw flashing up earlier. That's going to be on Saturday. Very excited for that matchup. It's certainly not the same level of matchup that it was partway through 2020, but still going to be incredibly exciting to see if JDG are back on form. But we'll talk about that matchup when it comes to Saturday. We'll focus on the matchup at hand, at least for now. And I am curious about first off, this matchup in the mid lane. I'd expect it to be Viego favored, at least in the short term, but I'll hold that thought, because we've got to dive on the top side. Cube gonna look to try and hold New still for a spear, but whether or not that's gonna be possible is a different question. Cube gonna get underneath the tower. There's the stun, there's the dive coming in, and Leyan finishes the kill comfortably.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aki actually pathed back down towards this bottom side, completely abandoning New. And I was thinking Aki would stay up towards his top end to try and prevent that dive, making sure that nothing could come astray up there. But it looks like it's just a nice dive coming in from RA, able to get Cube ahead once again in this matchup versus New. And we can see how quickly that went astray. And when you've got this combo with Sett, who's very capable of tanking up the tower with the Haymaker shield, and you've got Leyan, who's able to deal a heap of damage to this Lee Sin, it's going to be tough for New to try and survive this, even with all the mechanics he has are available for himself to try and keep himself out.
Yeah, that'll be the question, is if he can kind of hold the line on that one. But you know, Cube looked really good in game number 1. His Sett, very, very clean. And, you know, obviously, the early dives coming on through, he did fall behind in the lane to New's Wukong. But at the end of the day, Cube was the one that came out on top of the matchup. And it feels like him set up for success once again. But also Leyan having an early kill on his Nidalee on one of his signature picks. That's got to be a great start as Abel. Now in trouble in the bottom side. But Cold could just walk up forward with the Halo Blade to bully out iBoy instead. I thought they were going to play defensive. Hung now Gets the magical journey through the wall. Leyan is here, but he's exhausted, and Cold is not afraid here. Abel goes back in as well. Gobbled up, pulled out to safety. They're just going to 2v3 them, Dagda. OMG don't give a monkeys.
Yeah, iBoy was already very low and not actually able to get into a position to try and follow up on that. So essentially it turned into a 2v2 with neither side really coming out the better for wear, but will mean that Abel has to back away. So they will shove in this bottom side to try and give a nice reset towards iBoy. But overall, I like this proactivity from ORA coming in, getting these early plays with Leyan, trying to play towards his lanes and get them up and rolling. But honestly, I think either way, I kind of like ORA's composition as we start to scale into the game. Like, iBoy is going to do a relatively good job when we get towards that mid-game portion. Same with FoFo when he gets towards 2 items. But the biggest problem that I see for OMG's side is, like, who are your kind of assassins, I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, really going to focus on, right? Because for Creme, you don't really just one-shot at Viego. You're not really going to get through Cube. It's very difficult to get on towards iBoy as well because of how safe iBoy can play and just the arcane shift and the ability to get away from you. So in a lot of these respects, you're kind of struggling for both Nu and Creme for targets in these fights. And I feel like unless you get on towards Leyan, you can still do pretty well as ORA just with the amount of damage and sustain that is coming through on your side.
Oh, Spear just goes slightly wide. Aki is waiting though, Nu. Trying to bait this one out. Does get pulled in. Trades back slightly onto Cube. Cube connects, but Nu not willing to follow that one up. Doesn't know where Leyan is for now. As Hung's made a roam towards that mid lane, but Creme going to be fairly safe on the Akali. Able to just shove this wave in and hopefully for him reset the lane, because you definitely don't want to be frozen out, especially on a champion like Akali.
No, and I think he'll be all right, though. I think the bigger thing here is just, like, I want to see Aki actually doing something right now, because it feels like he's kind of been in the wrong place, the wrong time. Yes, he's able to keep Nu safe in that top side, but this is something where, like, Udyr needs to get in towards these lanes, and it's something that Aki has been pretty good at, but if he's just going to end up farming up, he's not actually going to be in a position where he can truly impact the game, and your laners are just going to fall further and further behind because of, you know, the stronger matchup in the top and the mid, and Senna not really doing too much on this bottom side.
Yeah, not so far, but I mean, it is very much a case of OMG will be looking to scale up. Hey, Dagda, I'm seeing a Sheen first item on Abel. I don't know if I've missed a memo. Is Sheen first item on Senna a thing now? Did I miss something?
I haven't. Like, I was literally just thinking, like, why would I see this coming through? Because, like, it builds into, like, Iceborne Gauntlet and, or sorry, not even the Iceborne Gauntlet anymore. Sorry, what am I saying? But basically, like, oh, hang on.
Yeah, into a little bit of a skirmish. I think it's fine.
Yeah, into the Essence Reaver and that. But, like, the two builds I've seen have been the Frostfire Gauntlet and also going across into, like, your regular Senna build with the Gwynsus and the Kraken Slayer. So I'm actually not sure what he's going for here. I'm going to have to wait and see as this kind of goes forward. But if you are going Essence Reaver, like, you're not really running low too much on mana as the game starts to go on. Actually, more than likely going towards the Divine Sunder, just to try and play through a lot of healing, a lot of max health damage, because you end up with it's not as high on the AD carries, but you can still do relatively well. And you're still going to be getting a lot of healing off in team fights. So I think it's probably going to be the Divine Sunder and seeing if he can carry through just the amount of raw health that's going to be on ORA. He'll get value from the passive.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I can see it now. And also you can proc your Sheen through your Q as well. So it will proc immediately at very long range for Senna. So definite value I can see there. I'm excited. I mean, it does feel like Divine Sunderer there's a flowchart for Divine Sunderer on this patch. Can you build it? If so, yes. You just build it.
Yeah.
It's just real strong right now. So seems
and
like
then
Senna
can you build
it?
No, pick a different champion. You know, it's such an easy flowchart to follow.
It's the new Black Cleaver. I wish you could stack them. Actually, no, I really don't wish you could stack them. I take that back completely.
I think there's a few items on this patch that are insanely strong. I think the Divine Sunder is one. I think Abysso Mask has been slept on a little bit. I think the 15% increased damage for anyone that you CC is absolutely insane, but obviously we're not getting a huge amount of tanks and stuff that will actually build this item, but I still think that when we do get to see it, people are going to realize just how strong that item is.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, I mean, look, we're post MSI, there's been a patch that's essentially been missed in competitive, so inevitably, it's going to take a little while before the proper meta for this patch is figured out globally. And that means there's going to be champions that are maybe broken that people don't realize just yet. There's going to be items that are maybe broken that, we already realized some of them, but I expect more to come through the woodwork as well. And I like it when we get to cast these kind of patches. I like it when we get to explore the patch with the players. Like we have a Viego mid here from FoFo that's built a Hex Drinker first. I haven't seen that before, but I can see the logic of it. But I'm more than happy to explore this build with FoFo, be taken on the journey.
I've been watching like Canyon and stuff, playing Viego in the jungle and that, and like he's been playing a lot of the Divine Sunder. Viego just going back to how strong that item is, but it feels like at least for this, FoFo's kind of gone, right, I need something that's going to give me some really good magic resist right now, but I don't know if the Hex Drinker was the way to go. Oh, bot lane, actually.
Hang on. Abel's in trouble here, but he's able to back away a little bit. Trusha Barrage goes wide. The Ezreal Bard anti-synergy that we all know and love. They're a great combo because they never want to be together. That's the crazy thing about this duo.
Yeah, the semi-global and the global working in completely against each other is wonderful to see. But come back to the point, I think for FoFo, I think just picking up the early Merc threads would have been enough here. But he's obviously very scared of Creme and how much damage he can do. But you can see Creme has already delayed his own power spike. Going towards this early Oblivion Orb means that, yes, he's going to cut the healing from FoFo, but not really going to have the execution damage or assassination damage. So I think it's a bit of back and forth across both sides.
Dagda. Cube just annihilated that top tower. Like, Herald was just used onto his tower. Creme was actually maybe in trouble. Hung is here. I don't think he's going to be fine on this one. Yeah, the Herald is used. 4 plates are taken on the top side, but they're shared between Nu and Aki. And then Cube just crashes the wave back. There was no TP available for Nu. And he just takes 3 plates himself because he's playing Sett and he's got 2 tier 2 items at this point, so he could just do that. It's like, hey, you remember that gold lead that you just got for yourself? Yeah, that's gone now. I've got the gold lead again. Oh, actually has to flash away, though.
Yeah, I think Nu, if he'd actually landed that, managed to flash in and kick, could have got the kill, but mid lane, Creme getting attention.
3-man here, flash out from Creme. Over the wall, keeps himself safe. Nicely played there, good respect. He's basically at a 2v1 lane with occasional 3v1 of Nidalee arriving as well, because Hung has been in mid lane more than he's been on the bottom side of the map this game.
Well, this is what we expected, right? We said, hey, look, you've got iBoy there. He's just going to wave clear, get Hung out of the bottom side. And he was hovering the Bard, hovering the Pike, couldn't decide. But the Bard is the perfect thing to work with here because you can just go very aggressive towards his mid lane, look to set up FoFo for success. And you can see the results, right? Highest CS in the game, starting to get some pressure on the map. And when he gets towards this Immortal Shield Bow complete and really does start to come into his own, he's going to be really difficult for OMG to deal with because, as we already talked about, like, Creme isn't going to be able to assassinate him. Nu can deal some damage, but definitely is a backup of Abel there.
Is that Project Tahm Kench? I'm so confused. That animation.
I think it's
really
the Chinese New Year one. Hey, man, you look great in that photo.
Mate, you look great in
back when you had hair.
I know. I'm not gonna lie. I can feel that. I'm in a room with closed doors. I can still feel the breeze. That's how bald my scalp is. But I forgot what we were talking about. Yeah, Tahm Kench looking futuristic on that animation. But let's kind of recap where we're at in the game, because gold is actually very even right now, and it's been a pretty slow early game, which is similar to what we saw in game number 1. And then we got to the mid game, and RA just blew everything open, just took over and won the game from there. Are we going to see a similar thing? Because it feels like with a Lee Sin and with an Akali, it shouldn't just be down to pure scaling this time. It does feel like OMG have changed the strategy and maybe can fare better in this mid game.
Yeah, it really, to me, feels like for OMG, their team fights are about trying to get onto, like, the squishy backliners, right? For Leyan and iBoy. If you can have either Nu or Creme do that, they can cause a lot of issues where iBoy has to try and push back. Leyan could actually just get assassinated outright by either the Lee Sin or the Akali. However, if you don't end up in that situation and we end up in like these front-to-back fights, or in the same situation for RA last game where they were controlling these objectives and getting towards the river area first, it becomes much more easy for RA to try and take a bit more of a front-to-back style of fight, look for a FoFo on a flank position, and from that point forward you can just cause a lot of problems for OMG where they don't have access to these backline. It becomes really hard for Creme to have much of an impact, and then you can take the fights that way.
Big spear onto Abel there. That's half of his health gone immediately. We'll be able to survive. It's fine. I feel like the whole story of this game so far has been like, somebody lands a big ability. Somebody makes a little thing happen, but it's not quite enough to follow up on. Part of that is just there's a Tahm Kench in the game. That's always going to be the way to an extent, but also Akali with the Twilight Shroud able to dodge. A lot of potential opportunities, but Drake's coming up in 12 seconds time. Dagda Soul is going to be either Mountain or Infernal, and this Drake is going to be an Ocean. It feels like an opportunity to fight as RA stepping up. Aki is here, trying to push into the jungle. iBoy actually will be rooted here. Has to jump over the wall, get himself to safety. You can see Creme is on the top side of the map, but has the TP available, as does FoFo. Aki going to pull the Drake out of the pit. This feels tense, Dagda. This feels real tense because OMG trying to fight for mid prio. They can start to move over. They got New here as well. Creme's still up on the top side, but again, TP available. Both teams just toying with the idea, Dagda, but neither willing to commit.
Yeah, I don't think OMG wants to. I think that's why it feels so tense. Aki would really like to get his hands on this dragon, but I think it's a bad idea. Like, they're not really in a position to try and fight this. Although, as I say, that Creme now coming down could have a decent flank position on towards the likes of iBoy.
Grouping up with the rest of his team. News here as well. There's a route onto Cube. Not the best target, though, to try and focus onto. And Abel, this time he has a Tahm Kench, so he can position real aggressively and get away with it. Dragon down to 2k. Creme going all the way around to get behind his team. Tempered Fate onto Cold. Aki could be in trouble now. It's going to be the engage coming on through. Showstopper into the backline. Leyan onto the Drake here. We'll be able to finish that one off with the Dawning Shadow. Shields across the team. Hung getting low. There's two members just getting taken apart on the backline here as OMG look to win the fight. FoFo escaping, as is Leyan. I think he was toying with the idea of going in there. That would be suicide, my friend.
It was a good fight for OMG, though. RA had kind of stayed around for so long that Creme could get into a nice flank position. Same with New, and iBoy goes down, meaning that there's no real damage from the AD carry for RA, and Abel is able to stay up the whole time, just wailing away on the members of RA.
I'm a little surprised OMG didn't get more off the back of that play. It felt like with only Leyan and FoFo up, maybe they could have tried to pressure the mid-tier 1. Maybe they could have gone for the Herald. But I think potentially just wanting to reset so they can contest the Herald if RA goes for that right on respawn. But importantly, RA did get the Drake here, Dax.
Yeah, but watch New. New was the big catalyst for this whole fight. He gets access onto iBoy. He's forced to flash, arcane shift. He's trying everything to get away from this play, but Creme and New are able to take him down. And meanwhile, while this whole thing is going on, Cube and Hung are trying to deal with that backline of OMG, but they don't end up catching Abel in the Tempered Fate, so he's fine, he's able to step away, and FoFo's being called to try and deal with iBoy's troubles in the backline. So a very split fight and very messy from RA. Now, though, OMG have going to spend that gold. They're going to be ready for this Rift Herald that's just up, and with only 2 minutes left, you can see both teams are trying to see if they can catch that before the 20-minute mark.
Oh, there's a route onto Hung. It's just going to be a soul taken by Abel. You can see how much damage the Divine Sunderer proc is starting to do as well. Abel definitely going to be looking good the longer this goes on. OMG with the advantage in this one. As you say, the solo lane is doing work in that fight. And I have to say, Dagda, if you'd asked me a month ago who the strongest parts of OMG were going to be this split, the solo laners would not have been my answer. But beautiful fight coming out from Creme there. Really nice setup from New as well. So I'm excited to see a little bit more of this Akali from Creme. Remember, this is his debut series in the LPL. With plays like this, I'm excited to see more. But now he's in trouble. Twilight Shroud underneath the tower here. He's 1v3. Oh no, it's a disaster of a TP from New. But luckily Code is here. Creme's got back in. Almost one-shots Leyan. That was clean.
That was, I was liking the enthusiasm coming out from Nidalee. He ends up getting the kill, but not quite. And that's what, although the tower goes down that top side of the map and OMG are all carried up, we got a little bit of trading back and forth in the mid lane as well here. But still, these are where RA are getting these little bits of gold back and forth now. Top lane turret going down for them. Now they can start to put pressure elsewhere on the map and honestly try and spread out into a bit of a 1-3-1. Like, Cube is in a really good spot with the Strike Breaker. FoFo having actually just finished the Gale Force, which I was really surprised at. Will be in a good spot in the side lane, but Gale Force is not something that I've typically seen on this Viego. Like, we talk about the Divine Sunder, Immortal Shield Bow. Hell, even the Kraken Slayer is super popular. But the Gale Force here very much realizing, hey, look, I'm going to struggle to get into these fights and want to try and use this for extra execution damage, trying to make sure that I've got that mobility. Honestly, I think if you're going to go this... Oh, hang on.
Oh, no. Oh, Cold. He's in trouble here. Flashes out to safety. Will have his shield available as well. Actually tanking a lot of damage here. Will finally go down. The Herald gets another charge as they're grouping up in the jungle here. Maybe this could be turned around. Nu is in the middle of everyone. Creme just arrived and everyone's so low as well. This could be the perfect fight for him on the Akali, but can't connect the perfect execution and has to flash out to safety himself. Now RA on the turnaround once more. They got 2 towers in this play already. What else can they get?
I think that was a bit of a whoopsie from Abel in that play. He actually took the Bard portal out, but stuck himself over the wall. So as soon as RA saw that Abel was out of the fight, they go for the re-engage. So it means that you're still getting that gold going down in that mid lane as well, alongside the tower. So overall, RA again kind of just putting their dominance down on the map, and it feels like for OMG, they're just not fast enough on the play, and they're just not playing the map out as well as RA right now.
It's going to be FoFo moving up towards the top side here to try and get some semblance of control. RA do manage, and this is all while Herald is going. That's the most important thing. There were 2 towers taken in the midst of this fight.
And this is the thing, right? You've got the Lee Sin top, you've got Akali on the bot side. OMG are not prepared for this. Even though you got the TP onto Creme, Nu gets this great kick, which is what puts the entirety of OMG so low. But watch Abel here. Takes the Bard portal, and now he's out of the fight. So RA realize, hang on a second, we're actually in a favorable advantage here, try to take the fight. Now though, Dragon up in 5 seconds, team posturing once again. And when you don't have flashes onto Abel or Cold, this is where they're so much more vulnerable.
Nu looking for another kick here. Creme over the wall, trying to clear the vision. As you say, Dragon up. Tempered Fate onto 2. Teleport being channeled as well. Creme on the back line. Keep your eyes on this Akali here. Cube going to be locked up as Creme does get his Shuriken on in. FoFo chasing Akali out of the fight, though. And OMG have to regroup. They have to rethink this play. Backing off into the jungle. The Dragon just taking a couple of pot shots as well. Leyan is here. Cube has just reset, but he has his teleport available. And you expect him to come back into this fight, but the Dragon resets once more. And these are some of the longest team fights I've ever seen, Dagda, but they're still going. OMG moving back into the pit here as they look to try and get damage onto the jungler. FoFo getting kicked out as well. Nu is behind everyone. Cube with a huge showstopper. It's onto Cold, though. He's tanky and a lot of shields coming up through. Finally goes down, but what is the cost? Aki having to back away. Creme can't get into the fight. Neither can Nu. The solo laners don't get to play, and Abel goes down. This will be the Drake for RA, and Soul Point to boot.
And it's heartbreak for OMG. They're trying so hard to play these fights, but not being able to get those flanks, not being able to find an opportunity to get onto the back line, and RA just slowly but surely whittling them down with the mystic shots from iBoy, with those spears coming through from Leyan. And when it gets to the end of the day, Cube, great flank to just start off the fight and force OMG to take these unfavorable trades.
Baron now just getting burnt on down. Nu, you know, he likes the idea of contesting this on. I'm not sure it's happening, though. Aki is going to try and just run into the pit, see if he can go for the 50-50. The kick across the team, but the steal isn't there. Nu gets back out the other side. Aki just sprints off towards the top lane. I don't know how they both escape with that attempt, but it doesn't matter regardless. RA get the Baron.
And that is a massive swing for RA. They were slightly down coming into the last few passages of plays, but now sitting with a nearly 3,000 gold lead for themselves. Baron in their favor as well. And now they can start to really put the pressure on towards OMG, because although it's great to have all these kind of assassins like the Lee Sin and also the Akali, they're not great at trying to clear these waves, and same when you look towards Abel as well. So this is where RA now can start to siege up on these turrets, use the Nidalee and those mystic shots to poke away at a vulnerable OMG.
Yeah, so now RA regaining control of the bottom side of the map. Drake not going to be up for another 3.5 minutes, but it's going to be a crucial moment in the series. It's a 3,000 gold advantage, but RA are already 1-0 up. And remember, RA made no roster changes coming into this split. They had a great middle of the split. Their peak was tied for second place, technically third on tiebreakers. But then it all sort of fell off towards the end of the year. It feels like this is their split to prove that it wasn't just a fluke, to prove that it was more than just a flash in the pan. And so far, so good against OMG here. The new roster just struggling to make it happen in this matchup now. Using the Baron, as you see FoFo just pushing the mid lane. All 5 members of OMG are stood here underneath the tower. FoFo's going to take an in-hit by himself at this rate.
And this tier 2 is like the one you don't defend. It's one of the easiest ones to take because you've got all these flanks. So losing this mid inhib is not worth keeping this tier 2.
This is just not it. I don't know what it is, but this ain't it. This is going to be the tier 2. Still is going to go down because Leyan and FoFo can threaten the dive on the flank here. Cube can just push the wave. They've got the Baron minions anyway. You expect RA to be able to just brute force this tier 2 at this stage. And there's a Bard portal as well. They're threatening the dive. Are they actually going to go for it, though? Because, I don't know, against the Akali and stuff, maybe diving isn't the play. Abel just desperately trying to get some poke down. Aki goes in. The fight is going to be the answer here. iBoy jumps out exhausted. Cold pulls Abel out of the play. Creme into the middle of everyone. Dawning Shadow across the squad. Leyan low on HP. News on the flank as well. Sonic Wave dodge from iBoy gets into the middle of everything. That's Nidalee going down. That's 1 kill as Abel still free firing in the backline. Cube trying to do what he can, but RA, they're winning out the fight. They've got the gold advantage that they need, and they're taking down some kills. Everybody has to fleet from OMG. It looked beautiful for a second, but it just wasn't enough.
Now RA have full control of this bottom side. OMG, they tried to make the play a weird turret and Mike can punish, but actually, FoFo?
Yeah, there's still 4 of them here, but Nu is on a flank. Abel is going to go down, though, a little bit too early. And Nu now looking at his flank position like, yeah, I can't do anything on that one, Chieftain. It's going to be the towers going down. This is looking like it might just be game here. Dagda, Aki up in 5 seconds time. Nu goes in, desperate to make anything happen, but Cube just flashes on and blasts him in the face with a haymaker. Here we go. The respawns are coming in. Double stun comes out from Hung. That is beautiful. And Creme suddenly finds himself alone in the world. Chased down and finished off by Cube once again, whose Sett is looking clean. The Nexus is bare as RA will close the gap and finish things off. These fights have been absolutely mental, and that is where RA win it out.
These are the longest fights in the history of League of Legends, I swear. Every time they were just kept going and going, but eventually RA managed to take the bot tower, they take the 2 Nexus turrets and the Nexus itself, and pick themselves up their first win of LPL summer.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming out from RA. You're absolutely right. Those fights were like, every single team fight felt like it went on for 2 or 3 minutes with the sustain coming out from both sides, but also neither team really quite committing to each of these plays. We saw so many plays across the game that were like, everyone just at arm's reach, throwing some Nidalee spears, throwing a bit of poke from the Senna, just waiting for the perfect opportunity. But the secret is, the perfect opportunity will never actually be there. You just got to pull the trigger sometimes.
Yeah, I think for RA, I actually kind of liked that they played that slow, right? But we already talked about, you know, Senna, she did receive some nerfs to her range, which means that she's not going to be able to answer for the poke that's coming through from Nidalee and Ezreal. So these like slower fights worked out super well in favor of RA, and why they were able to pick up so many of them. However, when we looked across at OMG, the fact that they weren't really